Well, my name is Patricia Aguilera. I'm from Penn State, well, originally from Mexico, and right now doing my doctorate at Penn State University. I'm presenting a course. This is an action research study. It's a qualitative study, and I already did my interviews, but I am in the process of analyzing the data, so I'm going to present half of the study, that is the course itself. This course is a primary prevention intervention. As we know, in the field of I'm going to read a lot, then you can understand my accent. Well, if you don't understand by hearing, you can understand by reading. In the field of neurodegenerative diseases, when the symptoms are clearly present, the brain is already damaged. So, regarding health, primary prevention refers to preventing the condition from occurring. And the idea of this course is to promote cognitive reserve through health education and awareness. You will see why. What is the theoretical framework? Well, basically, neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to recover itself, and to create new neurons, new networks, and new patterns. We know that education can shape the brain in their function and structure. So education for seniors, it could be a very good option for preventing the onset of the symptoms. We'll talk more about that later. We know probably, well, I don't know if everybody knows, but I think that the majority of you know that there are different hypotheses about the causes of Alzheimer's disease. Of course, the amyloid plaques and tangles is the major one. But there are many of them, and we are not sure what is happening with the brain or why. Then we have to use multidimensional strategies in order to work on it. And I think that we have to think in the whole individual. We have to use a biopsychosocial approach if we want to have results. That's my thought. We know that cognitive training works, but it could be boring because it is very specific for memory, for speed reasoning, for very specific areas, and usually it is because we are doing research. And we know that it doesn't last longer. It stays for a short period of time. So it is not meaningful, and it is not from daily life. This course was planned in that way, trying to be more meaningful and to be used in the daily life. This is not a guarantee. This is a learning process. Seniors will learn in class and apply it at home. That's the idea. They have to take responsibility of the knowledge that they are acquiring. And every session will have different activities with a great emphasis in social networks. I'm not going to talk about that because it's another side of the topic, but we know that social networks are very, very helpful in many, many senses. And also it helps with the brain. I did this course with a maximum of 15 seniors, and I had 13. And I did it with 6 main sections: education, meditation, cognitive stimulation, positive emotions, time for legacy, and physical exercise. Behind this course, there is a lot of research on each portion, but I won't give you all the research because it's a lot, and I would like to share better one sample of the sessions, then you can see how this works. Well, the course is called Brain Power, and I usually explain them in a very simple way or I try to do it in a very simple way. What is this about? The brain changes in response to our ideas, actions, and activities. And the objective of the course is a primary prevention. We're not going to see the results immediately. We don't know even if we are going to see results, because primary prevention is like that. You are trying to prevent the occurrence of the event. So you can, if it doesn't occur, you did it well, but you don't know if it was because of you. They need to know that the objective is to maintain cognitive function as much as we can, to delay cognitive decline as much as we can, and hopefully to prevent the disease. We will work with the brain through our senses, our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, and our body. We need to have fun, and the idea is to do art activities, to share experiences, to do games, to have music. And of course, I usually am trying to open them, or to invite them to be open during the course. Then they can have the best of the course. I explained them that we're going to have different sections, the ones that I already told you. And this is very important. I truly believe that we have to respect everybody. And if they are part of the course, they can make suggestions and they can inform the course too. So I invite them to suggest more and new activities, and I encourage them to take it seriously, because they are the most important part of the course. Also, it is not the same to have 65, that 75, or that 85. Then they have to start where they are, use their abilities. Probably some of them are very good at seeing, but not very good at hearing. Then they have to try to use wherever they have in that way, and do what they can without forcing themselves. For example, for presentation, I usually ask them to write their name, but the songs is the important part. They have to write favorite songs. Then, without knowing, they are working with different areas because they are trying to remember things that are connected to their emotions, and that's important. And also, I will use those songs later in other sessions when they are doing something. I will put the songs, and you can see their faces, how they change and start singing, and it is very meaningful for them. In the education side, I usually try to explain them all the concepts. I'm always trying to translate research for them. Then they can understand why this is important. Like this, neuroplasticity is a property of the brain that allows it to change its structure and function in response to the environment. We are able to create new brain cells during all our life, including senior stage, through stimulation. Well, I'm going to explain this. This is very important, brain reserve. Brain reserve is the amount of cognitive reserve a person might have, and it has been estimated from educational levels, occupational complexity, and frequency of mentally stimulating lifestyle pursuits. If they understand this, they can be more motivated to do it. I also explain the basic mechanism of Alzheimer with the major hypothesis, the plaques and tangles. And I explained them that based on autopsy studies, individuals with mild to moderate brain pathology did not manifest clinical symptoms of dementia. And this is very important because it's a hope for them. I usually, and I didn't tell you this before, but it's very important, I work with people before the brain is damaged. I try to use this course when they are not recognized with Alzheimer or diagnosed with Alzheimer. this is another important information. Some individuals with higher levels of Alzheimer disease pathology on autopsy were cognitively normal during life, and these individuals had a larger number of neurons compared to those who did express clinical symptoms. This is very, 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 very important, because then we can work on it. Even though people can have the disease, we don't know how to stop it right now. I know, and I'm very happy to see that we're working very hard in that side, but we don't have the solution yet. So if we can work in the reserve, probably they will have a better prognostic or prognosis. I told them that it is important to work in the brain before the brain is damaged. And we are not going to do a PET scan for everybody, but if they are aware of this, they can work on themselves. In order to observe the benefits, brain reserve has to be promoted before dementia is developed. Brain reserve is the ability to tolerate the age-related changes and disease-related pathology in the brain without developing clinical symptoms or signs of disease. I usually tell them that we cannot guarantee that it will happen, that they are not going to have symptoms. But if we can try to delay them, I think that is a good thing to do. Cognitive reserve will limit the clinical expression for the symptoms until a threshold level of brain pathology is reached, at which point the cognitive reserve can no longer compensate for underlying physical brain degeneration, which is great. If you're going to have it, you're going to have it probably at the very end. Then your disease won't be very, very, very large. And I think that that's something good. How? Well, it has to be holistic. It has to include nutrition, socialization, mental stimulation, spirituality, and physical activity. I told them that our brain functions through our senses. So we will work with all the areas. I also tell them that the brain is like a snowy hill in winter. The slope, the rocks, the consistency are like our genes, a given. When we slide down on a sled, we create different paths. Those tracks are not genetically determined anymore. Then we can create new ones. We have to get out of the same habits and try to do new ones, because those connections are the ones that can protect us, you know? Probably some neurons will die, but if we have more and more and more and more and more and more, these networks can compensate the losses. This, you cannot see the letters, but I like this picture because it says, taking control, social and emotional well-being, it's in the axon, communication management in one of the dendrites, horticulture, tourism, managing community, environmental health, enterprise. So there are so many areas that people can be engaged, and that will help them with their brain plasticity. You didn't see the bottom. The bottom says history, my own history, culture, land, language, survival skills, religion, and those foundations will help also. Another exercise, and this is more in the emotional part, for example, they have to draw a tree. In the top, they have to write their successes, and in the roots, some of their abilities. I don't have my, oh yeah, sorry, I need to be track on time. What time do I have to finish? 3:30? 3:20, okay. For example, sometimes we forgot who we are because we're having so many difficulties and we are not seeing our abilities in the same way that we saw it before. Then our self-esteem goes down. We have to work on that too and remember who we are still today. Even though no matter how old I am, I'm a great person. And usually when I ask them about their successes, they are, oh, I don't remember anything. And I tell them, you know what? I'm sure that you have at least one per year. How many years do you have? Then they laugh and they start working on it and remembering who they are. And they have to share the three and their strengths. For example, in the sensory part, write 3 smells that you really like, that you really dislike, and write a memory next to that. There is research that is very interesting. I'm sorry that I cannot tell you all the research that is behind, but if you work with the brain in areas that they are losing, like the smell, as Kathy said, the smell is one of the senses that we lose at the beginning. Oh, yeah, well, you know what I mean. You are working with those connections that probably you are losing, but you are trying to maintain as much as you can them if you are stimulating those areas. For that reason, matching with a memory, in my thought, is trying to create more connections, more connections, more connections. And I put some examples. Meditation, that's another big area that I work with. Because it improves attention and self-regulation. They make them aware of themselves and having a better control of themselves. And I use different techniques every time. Then they can pick the ones that they like the most and use them at home. For example, this is a Chinese meditation. It is about energizing your internal organs, and they enjoy it because it's different and it's new and it's a variety of activities. I do mental warm-ups, probably count backwards from 10 to 0, or probably I will put small quizzes that they have to do. And of course, I don't ask them to respond in loud voice, because everybody goes in a different time. So I don't want them to feel embarrassed, but they have to try by themselves. Or, for example, I'll show them images. They have to create a story as fast as you can. It doesn't have to be logical, but then we're trying to work without knowing. They are working with speed reasoning, they are working with memory, they are working with visual spatial abilities. Crossing the midline, they have to toss one tissue, and it's very interesting. If you have one nearby, if you try to send it, you open the tissue, I try to send it from one hand to the other, and it is fun, but it is difficult at the same time. And I encourage them to play these activities with their grandkids, with friends, because then they will practice it at home. For example, in perception, you have to find out male or female, child or adult, left or right, man or female. What do you think? Male. Right or left? But that's something that most of the people do. They do it with their hands and they figure out. Well, then they are trying and they are motivated to find out. Male or female? Female. And also I ask them, adult or kid? Kid. Male or female? Female. She's a female. Female, kid, adult. It's a kid. Female or male? female, right or left? I'm all the time I have to do it. Left. And that's something that I usually do. Many of these exercises are difficult for everyone. Then they can enjoy it and don't feel like, oh, I cannot do it. Because most of them are difficult for everybody. Male or female? Well, this is culture. We think that it's that's a culture. Because of the position, we think that it's a male, but it's the same girl that is, you know? But it's fun. Coins, for example. I do coins, and I put them, small pieces, they have to close their eyes. I try to count them just with their hands. Then they can recognize it without seeing. And I think that it's helpful for them, but also it is fun to try to figure out how much money do I have. This is a very, very special, all these exercises were related with cognitive stimulation, but this part, legacy, I think that is very important because it is a way to be here, even if you are not here anymore completely. Then if they have to write a journal, but also they are going to do different exercises, like, for example, asking for a favor to someone. Usually when you are asking for a favor, the other person will feel the same trust, and probably you have to help them in another time. And that's a type of legacy. Or find an aging model. Then you can see that you can be a model too and transcend through your actions. They have to teach in the course. They can pick wherever topic they want, but they have to plan a small session. And that's difficult. That's difficult, but at the same time, you are working with different cognitive abilities. This is also for legacy. They have to do 10 intentions for 10 years. It could be for healthy relationships, for health, to move towards service. And it doesn't have to be rigid. They can change, but they have to have the intention. Usually, I put a video, different videos adapted for seniors, and showing them that they can do exercise in different ways. You don't have to the gym to do exercise, but it is good for your body to do exercise. Even if you are in the kitchen or if you are seated, well, if you move, your blood will move, you will have more oxygen, and your body will work better. I have a lot of homework for them all the time, and the homework is very different every time. But the point is, for example, like this. We're going to work with long-term memory. In next session, they have to come with photos. But the important part of the homework is that they have to review their photos and pick the most meaningful ones for them. And they have to come and share. When they are recreating these memories, when they are trying to see, in one session I do, this is one, but they have to draw their room when they were kids. And for them, it was difficult. But when they started sharing, they were like, oh, that's true, and I remember this, and now I can see this. Then through this sharing process, you can see more improvements in their tasks or in their assignments. So I think that's important. Also, it is looking your life in a beautiful way. Another homework is related with other people. They have to work in the social part too. So, for example, this is one of those. Ask someone that loves you what skills, abilities, and or strengths he or she see in you. sees in you, sorry. Do not accept weaknesses, because we usually do, oh, you are very kind and very loyal, but, I told them, when you hear the but, you have to stop and tell them, not weaknesses, just the positive side. They enjoyed a lot hearing their families talking about them in a positive way. And they can see themselves in a better way too. I usually try to incorporate their ideas to the course, then the course is more meaningful for them. And I also open a space for be thankful, because that's something that also helps. And that had been very, very good, at least in this course that I already did, because they were people that were not religious at all, but they could be thankful with the earth, with the higher force, with the day, you know? Let me go back to the other one. So the intention of the course is trying to prevent through awareness. The main idea is the understanding part. This is the last one, so. I think that if we are more educated and we can use better the knowledge, well, we will be living better. Also, we have to be responsible for our health. Not always we can, but as much as we can. It is a learning process, but we have to apply the process at home. If not, it doesn't work. And we have to try to promote cognitive reserve, because probably that will help us to delay the onset of Alzheimer's disease, or to function the best that we can, as much as we can. Questions? I think that I am time. Yep, 3:18. Well, thank you.